As I gently propel myself through the interconnected modules of the International Space Station, I can't help but reflect on the remarkable journey that has brought humanity to this point in the conquest of space. It was over 60 years ago that Yuri Gagarin became the first human to leave the confines of our planet, ushering in a new era of exploration and discovery. Back then, the very idea of living and working in the vacuum of space for extended periods was the stuff of science fiction. Just a decade prior, the world watched with bated breath as the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. This seminal event kicked off the Cold War space race between the United States and the USSR, a rivalry that would push the boundaries of human spaceflight in ways no one could have imagined. From the Mercury and Gemini programs that put the first Americans into orbit to the Apollo missions that triumphantly landed astronauts on the lunar surface, the 1960s and 70s were a time of rapid, breathtaking progress. And yet, even those lofty achievements paled in comparison to the sustained human presence we maintain today aboard this orbiting laboratory, the International Space Station. In this microgravity environment, my sense of up and down has long since faded. Even the simplest everyday tasks, like drinking water or brushing my teeth, require a deliberate, choreographed approach that would have astounded the pioneering cosmonauts and astronauts of yesteryear. It's a far cry from the casual motions we take for granted on the ground. As an astronaut, I've had to relearn how to navigate and function in this alien environment. Instead of walking, I carefully propel myself from one handhold to the next, mindful of my every movement. One errant push could send me drifting off uncontrollably until I can grab onto something. It's a delicate dance that requires constant focus and coordination, a skill honed through years of training and experience. Surface tension is my greatest ally up here. I sip my water slowly, ensuring each droplet clings to the specialized drinking pouch rather than floating away in unpredictable directions. It's a skill I've meticulously refined over countless hours of practice, ever since the days of the Mir space station in the 1990s. Back then, cosmonauts had to contend with the rudimentary water delivery systems of the Soviet-era orbital outpost, often ending up with water globules zipping around the cabin. But we've come a long way since those early trials. And oral hygiene? That's a whole new challenge that would have baffled the early space programs. I have to tether my toothbrush to my hand with a short tether to keep it from drifting off into the void. No sinks or running water here. Just carefully squeezed droplets that I have to wrangle into my mouth without spilling. It's a far cry from the simple task of brushing my teeth back on Earth. In fact, the evolution of personal care routines in space is a fascinating story in and of itself. The first cosmonaut to brush his teeth aboard the Salyut 6 space station in 1977, Yuri Romanenko, described it as a messy and unpleasant experience, with toothpaste globules floating everywhere. But with each successive generation of space stations, from Mir to the ISS, we've refined and improved these basic functions, drawing upon hard-won lessons to make our lives more comfortable and efficient. Of course, maintaining physical fitness is critical to my health and well-being. That's why I spend 2 to 3 hours every day exercising on machines like this advanced treadmill, which was first introduced on the ISS in the early 2000s. Combating the relentless effects of microgravity, like muscle atrophy and bone loss, is an ongoing battle that astronauts have been fighting since the Skylab days of the 1970s. Back then, the primitive exercise equipment on board could only provide a fraction of the resistance needed to stave off the debilitating physical changes caused by weightlessness. But through decades of research and engineering innovation, we've developed sophisticated workout regimens and specialized apparatus that allow us to maintain a remarkable level of physical fitness, even in the harsh environment of space. And when it's time to rest, I strap myself into a specialized sleeping bag, floating freely in midair. It's a far cry from the luxurious beds we enjoy on Earth. But I've learned to sleep soundly. My body adapted to this new normal, a skill that astronauts have been honing since the pioneering days of the Skylab space station in the mid-1970s. Those early crews faced numerous challenges, from dealing with the constant noise of onboard systems to finding comfortable sleeping positions in microgravity. But over time, the design of sleeping accommodations has evolved, incorporating features like individual sleep compartments, noise-dampening materials, and improved restraint systems. Today, I'm able to enjoy restful, restorative sleep, a crucial component of maintaining both physical and mental health. But the challenges of living in space go far beyond just the physical. Confined in these cramped quarters for months on end, the psychological toll can be immense. Homesickness for my family and friends back on Earth, the isolation from the rest of humanity, and the constant awareness of the dangers we face. It's a delicate balance to maintain our mental health. This is not a new struggle, of course. The crews of the Soviet Salyut and Mir space stations in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were no strangers to the psychological stresses of long-duration spaceflight. They developed innovative coping strategies, like regular communications with ground control, scheduled leisure activities, and fostering a tight-knit camaraderie among the crew. We've built upon those lessons here on the ISS, ensuring that we remain not just physically fit, but also mentally and emotionally resilient. Yet, despite all these hurdles, I'm honored to call the International Space Station my home. The opportunity to contribute to humanity's understanding of the final frontier is a privilege beyond measure. Every day, I'm in awe of the engineering marvels and scientific breakthroughs that enable my survival in this alien environment, from the life support systems that provide me with breathable air and clean water, to the waste recycling processes that allow us to minimize our ecological footprint, all built upon the lessons learned from decades of prior space missions. This orbiting laboratory is a true culmination of human ingenuity and determination. Its construction began in 1998 with the launch of the Zarya module by the Russian Federal Space Agency. Over the next 2 decades, a global coalition of space agencies from the United States, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada worked tirelessly to assemble the station piece by piece, module by module, until it reached its current configuration of over a dozen interconnected pressurized elements. And the scientific breakthroughs achieved here are no less remarkable. From groundbreaking research into the effects of microgravity on the human body, to the development of cutting-edge materials and technologies with applications back on Earth, the International Space Station has become an indispensable platform for expanding the boundaries of human knowledge. This is what it means to survive in space, to adapt, to persevere, and to push the boundaries of human potential. It's a journey unlike any other, and I'm humbled to be a part of it, exploring the unknown and furthering our knowledge of the cosmos. The challenges may be great, but the rewards are immeasurable. From Gagarin's historic first flight to the ongoing breakthroughs of the ISS, human space exploration has come a long way. And I'm proud to be carrying that legacy forward, one deliberate movement at a time. As I make my way through the labyrinth of corridors and modules that make up the International Space Station, I'm struck by the sheer complexity and engineering prowess that has gone into maintaining this remarkable orbital outpost. While the daily tasks of living in microgravity may appear graceful and effortless, the reality is that a tremendous amount of behind-the-scenes work is required to keep this laboratory running. You see, the ISS is not simply a static habitat, but rather a constantly evolving, dynamic structure that requires regular maintenance, upgrades, and even emergency repairs. And as an astronaut, I'm not just an observer. I'm an active participant in these critical operations that ensure the continued viability of our home in space. Take, for instance, the delicate task of maintaining the station's solar arrays and other power systems. These massive, wing-like panels are the lifeblood of the ISS, converting the abundant sunlight in our orbital environment into the electrical energy that powers our life support systems, scientific experiments, and communications. But over time, these essential components can degrade or become damaged, necessitating careful inspection and, at times, complex repairs. I remember one particularly challenging EVA, or extravehicular activity, where I had to venture outside the station to replace a faulty power regulator on one of the arrays. Floating in the void of space, tethered to the station by a thin lifeline, I had to work with precision and focus to complete the task, all while contending with the extreme temperature fluctuations and the constant bombardment of micrometeorites. It's a humbling experience, a reminder of the inherent danger and technical mastery required to maintain our presence in this unforgiving environment. And it's not just the external systems that demand our attention. The intricate web of life support equipment, environmental control systems, and scientific instrumentation within the station's pressurized compartments also require regular maintenance and upgrades. From swapping out air filters to performing delicate repairs on the water recycling system, every member of the crew must be proficient in a wide range of technical skills to ensure the continued functionality of this orbiting research facility. In fact, the sheer volume of spare parts, tools, and specialized equipment we have on board is staggering. Every module, every critical system, has its own set of replacement components, carefully stowed and cataloged, ready to be accessed at a moment's notice. It's a testament to the foresight and planning of the ground crews back on Earth, anticipating and providing for every conceivable scenario we might face up here. And when something unexpected happens, as it inevitably does in the harsh environment of space, we must be prepared to act quickly and decisively. I remember one incident where a small meteorite struck the hull, causing a slow but steady air leak. The entire crew sprang into action, donning our protective equipment and rushing to isolate the affected module, sealing off the breach before the precious atmosphere could be lost. It's moments like these that truly test the limits of our training and expertise. But through constant drills, simulations, and a deep understanding of the station systems, we are able to respond with the skill and composure necessary to protect our home and our lives. The International Space Station is not just a habitat, it is a living, breathing entity that demands our unwavering dedication and vigilance. Yet, despite the relentless demands of maintaining this technological marvel, I am continually inspired by the profound purpose that drives us. For within these walls, we are not just astronauts. We are scientists, engineers, and explorers, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. The research we conduct, the discoveries we make, have the power to transform life on our home planet, and perhaps even pave the way for humanity's expansion into the solar system and beyond. So as I move through the corridors of this orbiting laboratory, performing the countless tasks required to sustain our presence here, I am fueled by a profound sense of purpose and privilege. For I am not just a caretaker of this station. I am a steward of humanity's future, a bridge between the world we know and the infinite possibilities that await us in the great expanse of the cosmos. This is the true meaning of surviving in space. After months aboard the International Space Station, the time has come for my return journey to Earth. As I float through the station one last time, performing final checks and saying goodbye to my crewmates who will continue their mission, I'm struck by how this remarkable outpost has become my home. But now, an equally challenging phase of spaceflight awaits, the descent back to our planet's surface. The journey begins with meticulous preparation. My Sokol pressure suit, which I'll wear during the descent in the Soyuz capsule, must be carefully inspected for any signs of wear or damage. This suit is our last line of defense against the vacuum of space, a crucial piece of equipment that hasn't changed significantly since its introduction in the 1970s. Its reliability has been proven through hundreds of successful returns from orbit. The Soyuz spacecraft itself is remarkably compact, far more confined than the spacious modules of the ISS. As we settle into our molded seat liners, custom-fitted to our bodies months before launch, I'm reminded of the long legacy of this vehicle. Since its first crewed flight in 1967, the Soyuz has been continuously refined and improved, making it the most reliable spacecraft ever built for human spaceflight. The undocking process is precise and deliberate. As the hooks and latches disengage, there's a gentle push that separates us from the station. Through the small window, I watch as the ISS, my home for the past several months, gradually recedes into the darkness of space. It's a bittersweet moment, knowing that this chapter of my life is coming to an end. But the most challenging part lies ahead. The deorbit burn is crucial. Our engines must fire at exactly the right moment, and for the precise duration to slow our orbital velocity enough to begin our descent into the atmosphere. This maneuver has been calculated meticulously by ground control, accounting for everything from atmospheric conditions to the Earth's rotation. As we hit the upper atmosphere at approximately 400,000 feet, traveling at nearly 17,500 miles per hour, physics takes over. The capsule's heat shield, made of ablative material that gradually burns away, protects us from temperatures reaching 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The G-forces begin to build, a stark reminder of the gravity we've been free from for so long. This is where our physical conditioning becomes crucial. Despite our rigorous exercise regime aboard the ISS, the human body doesn't readjust to gravity instantly. The cardiovascular system, which hasn't had to pump against gravity for months, must suddenly work much harder. The specialized G-suits we wear help prevent blood from pooling in our lower extremities, a potentially dangerous condition during re-entry. The descent is violent, far more intense than the relatively smooth launch. The capsule shakes violently as we pierce through increasingly dense layers of atmosphere. At about 27,000 feet, the main parachute deploys, jerking us abruptly as our descent rate dramatically slows. These parachutes, nearly 1,000 square feet in area, are the result of decades of refinement in spacecraft recovery systems. Just seconds before touchdown, 6 small solid-fuel rockets fire from the bottom of our capsule, cushioning our landing on the steppes of Kazakhstan. The impact is still jarring, often described as a minor car crash, but the landing system, developed through years of experience, helps absorb much of the shock. After landing, our bodies must immediately begin readjusting to Earth's gravity. Even simple movements become challenging. My head feels incredibly heavy, and my sense of balance is completely disrupted. This is the beginning of a lengthy rehabilitation process that space agencies have refined since the early days of long-duration spaceflight. The recovery team reaches us within minutes, helping us out of the capsule one by one. The simple act of sitting upright is a struggle. My muscles, though maintained through exercise in space, must relearn to work against gravity. The recovery procedures have been perfected through countless missions, with medical staff immediately checking our vital signs and beginning preliminary health assessments. Over the next several weeks, I'll undergo intensive rehabilitation. The effects of long-duration spaceflight, muscle atrophy, bone density loss, vision changes, and balance disruption, require careful monitoring and targeted exercise programs. Modern rehabilitation techniques, developed through decades of space medicine research, help accelerate our recovery, though it typically takes several months to fully readjust to Earth's gravity. But beyond the physical challenges, there's also an emotional adjustment. The perspective gained from seeing our planet from orbit, what astronauts call the overview effect, has profoundly changed my worldview. The thin blue line of our atmosphere, the absence of visible borders, the fragility and beauty of our planet. These are insights that stay with you long after returning to Earth. As I begin my journey back to normal life, I carry with me not just the scientific knowledge gained aboard the ISS, but also a deeper appreciation for our planet and the remarkable achievements that have made human spaceflight possible. From the first tentative steps of the space age to today's routine orbital operations, we've come so far in our understanding of how to survive in space, and perhaps more importantly, how to return safely home. The legacy of space exploration continues, built upon the accumulated wisdom of countless missions and the dedication of thousands of individuals across the globe. And as humanity looks toward even more ambitious goals, returning to the moon, reaching Mars, and beyond, the lessons learned from our experiences aboard the International Space Station will serve as the foundation for the next great chapter in human spaceflight.